In this video, we're going to be breaking down these really unique and cool vertical bike racks that Ryan put together. And these are made entirely out of 3/4 inch EMT conduit and maker pipe connectors with some other materials like some wood and zip ties here. And this is really cool and unique. Haven't really seen bike racks like this and don't really know why he needed these specific ones, but that's the cool thing about seeing all these different projects from people is everybody has their unique situations and reasons for building things, and we can still get ideas and information and, different hacks and techniques even if we're not making the exact same thing. So that's really cool. Really appreciate Ryan sharing this. Like I said, this is made with the EMT conduit, which you can get off the shelf at Lowe's, Home Depot, different places like that. Find it in the electrical aisle. And you can cut EMT conduit with a pipe and tube cutter that you just, rotate around the EMT conduit, and then you tighten it and then rotate it around some more. Keep doing that until you make your cut. Really simple to do, just a little time consuming, but not too bad and doesn't require any electricity. And then the pieces of conduit are connected together with maker pipe connectors, which are steel connectors that we manufacture here in South Carolina, and we ship those all over the country so people can build things. And here we can see he's using quite a few different ones in this bike rack, and really cool. We're going to break it down, and then we're going to talk about some other things as well. But here's a few photos that he sent in, which we really appreciate. And then here's a good photo where we can kind of see the frame in place with a bike on it and empty frame, so we can kind of break this down and see how it's put together. And this is really unique, like I said, and just really cool. So basically, I usually start by looking at the verticals and kind of breaking down the frame from there. So we got two verticals in the back, and we've got a 90-degree connector at the bottom of those verticals. And it's kind of hard to see in this photo, but these are put together and kind of oriented in not the most common way, but I think a really underrated way, which is kind of sideways. So instead of the piece of conduit running through the connector and going up to the top of the build, it's actually on its side, which means the through pipe that runs continuously through the connector is running from one side to the other, as we can see there. So that means the vertical is terminating in the 90-degree connector, and then the blue piece of conduit there that we marked is going from one side to the other completely through it, so you don't have to make any cuts there. And then we've got another piece of conduit that connects in this connector and runs from the front to the back, as we can see here, and then goes just all the way to the front of the frame in the very front like that. And then that also terminates in the 90-degree connector. Same thing on this side, of course, it's just mirrored. And then we can see he actually used 90-degree connectors in the front, oriented in another different way, where the through pipe is going through the middle of the connector on the front this time, instead of kind of in the back where we saw where the pipe from side to side is going through it. The pipe on the middle of the connector is flush with the end of the conduit there in the front, which is really cool and kind of cool to see the different uses and orientations of the 90, because we don't see a ton of different ones. But that means the green piece of conduit that we marked is going all the way through it and then flush with the end there. And then we've got the vertical sticking up that terminates in the connector. And then we also have this piece of conduit that is running from one side to the other that terminates inside the connector as well. And then we can also see he actually used the 90-degree connectors in that same way, oriented that there, using here we can see that same technique. And again, it's just the through pipe running continuously through the 90, and then we've got the piece of conduit terminating inside of there, going from this side to the other. And then we've got a short vertical sticking up out of the 90 here that terminates inside of the connector and just sticks up. And I think he's using... Actually, no, I don't see any there. I was going to say the plastic end caps, which you could add if you wanted to. Those just go in the end of the conduit, but it doesn't look like he has any there, which is totally fine. It's just up to you, kind of an optional thing if you want to add it. But really, I think that's all the connectors except for one bracing, actually two braces here. So we've got up here on the back, we've got the T connector that is adding this brace from one side to the other. And then we've got another brace here. These are adjustable angle connectors, which allow you to create braces and create unique angles, and that connector can also hinge, which is pretty cool. But basically, those two, actually, I think he's got two per side now that I look at it. So there's another angled bracing on this side. We got a lot of marks here, but basically all this is doing is just adding an angled brace down here, and we've got this brace between the two vertical posts using just the T connectors there. So plenty of bracing and a lot of supports here. And that's really the main frame of the build. And then we can see that he actually got some wood and notched out the wood to allow the bike tires to rest in slot in those pieces of wood there. Then he just drilled some holes and looks like zip tied those pieces of wood in place there. He's got, looks like 4 zip ties per wood, and then he kind of cut those out to slot for the wheels, and they can rest in there. And then the tube that goes up to the headrest also has a spot here that he cut out of a piece of wood, and that just rests on there. And that's pretty much this main frame and everything put together. That's the whole idea behind this, and just a really cool build, very unique, not something we've ever seen before, which is always fun to see, unique projects that people put together. And one accessory that I do see on here are the rubber pipe feet. Those are just on the end of the piece of conduit, and those work great, kind of keep things from sliding around, and are just a good accessory for indoor builds, and really just any build that you want to keep from sliding around or scratching up a surface. So that's really cool. And then the second frame here is just the same exact design, and what's really cool is the piece of conduit that was running through the back two 90-degree connectors that we talked about at the beginning. That's just going from one side of the bike rack all the way to this other side. So the rest of the frame is kind of separate and its own thing, but they're connected together with this one long pipe, which is really awesome. And this whole thing is just really cool. So thanks so much, Ryan, for sharing this. Really appreciate you sharing the photos. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave those down below, and I'll answer them as best I can. If you like this video, leave a like and consider subscribing. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.